To start, we need 2 cups of all-purpose flour because we're going to start by making the biscuits. And we need 2 teaspoons of granulated sugar, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, and 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. Now you want to mix those together. Now we have 4 tablespoons of salted butter that I've cut into tiny cubes. Now it has to be really cold. Now you want to get in there with your God-given tools and kind of mash those cubes of butter in to your flour. Once they're all coated in the flour, that is. Now that it looks like coarse cornmeal, we have 3/4 of a cup to 1 cup of whole milk buttermilk. Now you may need a cup, you may need 3/4. So I'm going to start with 3/4 and start working it in. And if it's still a little dry, we'll add more. Now I'm going to have to add more. This depends on the weather where you're at. If it's dry, if the air is dry, it will affect how much milk or buttermilk that you need in a recipe. It also sometimes depends on the brand of flour that you're using, or even how you measured your flour. Because it looks like, for me, it may take the whole cup today. Now I'm going to get in there with my God-given tools. Those are my favorite tools. And I'm going to start working it together that way. Now this is all mixed up, and you can see it's kind of sticky, but not really sticking to my fingers a whole lot. That's where you want it. Now before we can take care of that, we have to do the filling. We have 1 stick of unsalted butter that I have melted and let cool down. 3/4 of a cup of packed light brown sugar, 1 1/4 teaspoons of cinnamon, and a little splash of vanilla. Now you want to mix that all together, and it will form a nice little loose paste. You want to stir it till there's no sheen of the butter on top, so that you know there's no butter staining and everything's incorporated. Now we have put our dough blob out on a floured surface. You want a well-floured surface because otherwise it's going to stick, because it is a little sticky, and that's what you want for the biscuits to be moist. Now you can pat it out or you can roll it out. It depends on how soft your dough is. If your dough is really soft like mine, then you can pat it out. I highly recommend patting it out into a rectangle if you can get it into one. Me personally, when I try to put them in a rectangle, they come out round. When I try to get things round, they come out square. So if you have that same problem, as long as it looks good from 50 yards on a galloping horse, you're fine. Now I have this circtangle all patted out because that's kind of what it looks like, is a circtangle. So now we're going to bring in our filling. It's up to you whether you want to use all of this. You just want to spread it around all over your biscuits. You want to leave a little rim right here, because otherwise it's going to come ooching out everywhere. And yes, I said ooching. That's my word. This depends on how much filling you want in this. If you want a lot, do all of it. If you don't want so much, don't do all of it. Whatever cracks your tractor. Now no matter what, this is going to come ooching out a little when you cut them and when you roll them. It's going to make a little bit of a mess, but messes clean up. Now we have 2 medium apples that I've cut into small little cubes. You can use whatever variety you like. You may or may not use all of them. It depends on the size of the apple. You just want a good layer of apple in there. Now you want to start from the long end of your circtangle, and you want to start rolling it. You want to go back and forth like a typewriter. If you don't know what a typewriter is, go look it up. Now you want to be gentle, because this isn't like a cinnamon roll dough. This is a biscuit dough. So it's more gentle. Now you want to push your filling down. If you need to raise it up to fold it over the top, do that. Now we have our baking dish. This is an odd shaped baking dish. It's probably 11 by 4 or 5. I don't know. It's kind of an odd shaped baking dish. You can use whatever you like, but I've sprayed this with cooking oil spray. I use coconut oil spray. Now we're going to use a serrated knife. Your dental floss trick that you use on cinnamon rolls will not work here. You're better off using a serrated bread knife. I'm going to cut it in the middle, and I'm going to cut them into as many as I want. It depends on how big or how little you want them, how many you cut. I'm personally going to do 8 because biscuit dough does not want to cut thinner like a yeasted dough. So we're going to cut 8, and then we're going to gently pull them up, place them in our baking dish. But look at that, ain't that pretty? Now we are going to pop these into a 400-degree preheated oven until they are nice and done. And your biscuit dough, you want to make sure that it's done. These beautiful Apple Cinnamon Swirl Biscuits are out of the oven right now. And I almost said squirrel biscuits. They're not squirrel biscuits. That would be a totally different thing. They baked for 25 minutes exactly. I would say between 20 and 25 depending on your oven. Now you want to let them cool just a little bit. They actually cool down faster than you would think. But if you want them to set up so that you can eat them with your hands, you want them to cool down a lot more. But if you want to eat them with a fork, which is honestly the better way to eat them, then you can go ahead and eat them nice and warm.
All right, now we're going to eat these with a fork because they're a little warm to pick up, but they're perfect with a fork and some coffee. And so hopefully I don't burn my pie hole. So good. So delicious. Outstanding. Now I'll tell you, Angela made these last year during apple season, and she tested it out, and she's like, do I want the glaze on them? Do I not? We kind of don't like glazes on stuff so much anymore because it's just too sweet. But she made this half with glaze, half without a glaze last year. The one with the glaze was too sweet, okay, for our liking. Okay, so we recommend eating it without a glaze on it, just as it is. It's a beautiful flavor. Apple cinnamon biscuit is so tasty. Perfect bite. And Angela Kay really killed it because you know what? She can stink and cook, y'all.